if you could just mention your name as being part of the interview today.
Well, Fergus Watt, been a member since I was 15, 1953, and I've seen a lot of changes, most of it for the better with Pollok, and here's hoping to carry on for another 100 years.
Al Reid, born and brought up in Shawlands, third Lanark supporter, but also a Pollok supporter from the late 50s, but a Pollok zealot from 1970s onwards till today.
Roy Hall, born and bred in Shawlands, past president of Pollok Football Club, past president of the West of Scotland Junior Football Association.
James McNaught, 35 years treasurer of Pollok and on the committee for over 40 years on the committee. And I'm an honorary president of the club, but really I'm just in the House of Lords. You're shunted out the road.
The red benches. My first memory of Pollok was when I was still at primary school, and Pollok were playing Falthouse United in a very special cup tie at Newlandsfield, and my father wouldn't allow me to go because he was frightened of the size of the crowd. And in fact I watched the game from Pollok Shaw's station, which of course
Did you buy a platform ticket, Roy? Did you buy a platform ticket?
The flats of course weren't there, and I was able to watch the game from Pollok Shaw's station.
Roy's right there. In fact, the crowd was given officially as over 11,000, but there was hundreds up on that station. Roy wasn't alone up on that station.
My recollection of you joining up, and you were one of my best signings, you and Gordon Ritchie. I think you were the Lanark men.
No, I was always a Pollok follower, but you and your dad were encouraged Gordon and I to become members.
And you went on
join as full members, and then we were asked to join the committee, and it's something I've never regretted, although I didn't have the success that other committee members have had. But the disappointment for me was when I took Gordon as vice president, we lost a very, very strong secretary, and I don't think we've ever replaced anyone like Gordon as secretary of the club. And I think, Jim, you might agree with that. Gordon was a person with accuracy in his work, both in his ordinary work as a cigarette rep, but working for Pollok, he kept his records pristine and clean.
I'm laughing at Roy saying that because Gordon's records were written down in the back of a fag packet, and I can assure you that was where his records were done, on the back of a fag packet, and they were concise, but that's where they were. He was great. I'd like to say, sorry, I agree wholeheartedly with what Roy said about Gordon Ritchie. To me he was a special guy in every way, not just as a secretary, he was just a special guy. But I would slightly disagree with Roy. I think we have replaced him with a secretary who is, he's maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but I think he's a good lad, and he works his heart out for Pollok, and if you go to him, he never says no, and that's Stuart McCulloch.
It's like a story going back to, recall there was a very fine centre forward of the 1950s, Sonny Best. There was a game against Irvine Meadow we had in '54, I think. We had about 10,000 in the ground, days before any shelter at all. And Sonny, Tommy Vine it was, there was a protest way back then, but Sonny must have burnt his bridges with the committee, and what I was trying to about Gordon, Jim McNaught and all the others who have been committee men for years and years. My dad said to Sonny, no, I don't think you'll get back, Sonny. He said some dreadful things about the committee, and they're all volunteers, they don't get paid. You get paid, but none of the committee get paid. So I'm afraid there's no chance of you coming back. It's about players thinking the other side of the hill is greener. And then they find that Pollok obviously treated them very well, and they tried to get back, but my dad said there's no chance of getting back. Sonny, and it was a smashing wee player. Struck me again. They say one man doesn't make a team, but we signed Neil Bowie, a centre half, kind of way back, and suddenly we became a team that were hard to beat, and we were winning more games than we were losing. Do you recall that, Neil Bowie making a tremendous difference?
Oh, aye, Neil was a great centre half.
They went senior to East Fife, and then he came back onto the committee, didn't he?
I don't remember him on the committee. It must have been before my time.
Neil Bowie, that was the 50s, Jim.
Oh, I'm a 60s man. I came here.
Well, my recollection, and people often say this in generalities, you know, one man doesn't make a team. But my recollection of it is when Neil Bowie arrived, what a difference he made to the team. Seemed to play a lot better. And he went on to have a senior career with East Fife.
When we were playing Irvine Meadow in the Junior Cup here, when I arrived down in the tram car, because I had no car, but I got off the bus and Old House Road was packed with buses on both sides of the road, right down to Riverford Road and past Riverford Road, with Irvine Meadow supporters who were an illustrious club at that time. And the joy for me was that we won the game 1-0, I went at home a happy chappy. But these were the days of protests, and protests were very, very strong in these days, and Irvine Meadow discovered that Pollok had played a player called Tommy Vine, who in fact had played for Dumbarton, and he hadn't been reinstated properly. Irvine Meadow won their protest and won the game the following week. So my joy was dashed to disappointment.
What season was that?
That was in the mid-50s.
That was in the mid-50s.
On that point, Irvine Meadow specialised in protests, and they had a man who could turn the rule book inside out. I can't remember the guy's name, but they had a specialist for doing that sort of thing.
The other part I recall was us going to play Gourock at Shanty Park
Shanty.
in the Scottish Cup.
6-1.
But we went there, and the first game we lost. But we knew before we even went on the pitch that we had a certain protest because none of their players were registered. And we went down the following week and won comfortably. But it was funny, but yet peculiar, that we knew, even though we get beaten, we were going to be back the following week because protests were relevant. I mean, nowadays, you never have a protest. The club will either be thrown out the cup or else fined heavily if they breach the rules. I think the other thing...
The thing about the Shanty Park, he's saying about Gourock, he kicked the ball and the ball, they were right at the top of a hill. I mean, the ball literally went into Gourock.
So was a lot of protests in
Oh, there was
Yes.
a tremendous amount of protests.
You'd never won a game to the protests and been fined.
The match secretary was sent up to Park Gardens on the Monday morning to check up the team list. I think the other thing I recall has been when I was president, I had no success winning cups, which was a disappointment obviously for me. But it was when we were drawn against Aberdeen Sunnybank at Newlands Field at New Year. And Sunnybank arrived and I was worried. The pitch was doubtful, but the game went on and we won 10-0. The social club, of course, was a hub of activity at that time. And they left the social club at 1 o'clock in the morning after a 10-0 defeat. And our friendship started with Sunnybank after that, and they invited us up to Sunnybank. So we went up to Sunnybank and Joe Black was on the bus along with the players and committee. And when we arrived, we were taking our accommodation. And I've never seen such accommodation like it. It was a button bin. You went into your room and the smell of urine, etc. Joe Black would not stay. He went and booked himself into a hotel. So I spoke to Jimmy Tom, who was then the secretary of Sunnybank. I said, Jimmy, why did you book us into this place? He said, well, we're worried about Glasgow. You don't have the money that Aberdeen, which of course was the boom town at that time with the oil. And he said, we didn't think you could afford to come to a more luxurious establishment. But that friendship continued, because the following year we went again and he booked us into a lovely hotel, and again we had a great time.
Aberdeen Sunnybank won the Scottish Junior Cup long before we did.
Yes.
And we were at the game in 1952. Because my dad ran the supporters club, and we used to always have a bus to every Scottish
Junior
Cup
Cup
final. So I remember Aberdeen Sunnybank winning the Scottish Junior Cup.
And the crowds of the 50,000s that happened in a Junior Cup final. These were the days.
I remember a big game in '62, Pollok versus Glenafton, quarter-final Scottish Cup tie,
Yep.
and the Pollok had beaten 2-1. And we'll talk about the Third Lanark situation when Stuart McCulloch and others are here in the future. But that day, Thirds played Celtic at Parkhead and drew 4-4 in the Scottish Cup at Parkhead. And the Pollok beat.
Was that game
Big
not
Glen-
televised by STV?
It was Glen
Not
Cairn.
live.
Glen Cairn was televised a round before the 5th round. That's
Right.
correct. Bob Crampsey commentating. I think.
We had a game filmed here against Glenafton.
That was a Glencairn game.
Oh, it was a Glen Cairn game that was the 5th
STV.
round, but the game against
wonder-
Glenafton
Right.
wasn't televised.
You know, I'd like to know what we actually got from the television company for that.
Probably
It'd be
nothing.
interesting to see a figure. Probably nothing.
It was Scotsport. You got one of Arthur's old jackets.
When did they stop the rules regarding when you played in minor cups, they added up the corners so that if it was nothing each or one each, the person that got the most corners, when did that
That
stop?
That happened in the
Erskine
Kirkwood
Cup.
Shield and the Erskine
Erskine Cup.
And
County
also,
corners.
one of these you could win on the toss of a coin.
I remember playing
Remember
Strathclyde
Fanny won
up at Parkhead Cross, Strathclyde, just not far along.
Yes, Strathclyde.
And one of them were playing a minor cup against them. You're trying to add up how many corners you had to see who won if it was a
That was in
draw.
the days, of course, before penalty kicks decided.
When did that stop, Jim? Do you know?
No, it happened in my time.
Happened in
It
my
happened in
time.
my time. And the funny thing was that you only had a referee and neutral linesman. So the
Ah.
poor referee, as well as keeping goals and keeping a note of penalty, corner
And
kicks.
if it was Jimmy McCurdy, he couldn't count.
Jimmy
Couldn't
McCurdy
write.
only had one arm, by the way. And he never booked a player because he couldn't get his pencil out of his pocket.
Who were the big teams in the 50s that you can...
Oh, Irvine Meadow was one.
Yeah.
Irvine Meadow was definitely one, and they had a lot of power in the association, didn't they?
Yeah.
The president. So that's how they would know all the ducking and diving.
Petershill, Ashfield, these were huge clubs
Yep.
in those days, and there was a religious element to that, believe it or not. Petershill were Rangers, Ashfield were the other lot, Celtic, and the conflict between, but they had great, I mean Ashfield toured Europe
yeah.
long before, and they went on tour to Europe, and if you check their records, it's amazing what they have done as a club.
I think the other thing I've got to say is that Jack Perry's name's not been mentioned, but he was the one who believed that grass could grow in Newlands Field Park.
And McFadden,
Frank McFadden.
Frank
the two of them
McFadden.
together.
And the two of them believed, and nobody thought this could happen. And look at the pristine condition we've got outside
Well,
now.
well, it was an incident.
It's a credit to them
When
that
did it
that
go?
happened.
When did it go to grass?
It was 68, I think. It was
Right.
68,
69.
69.
It was a lot earlier than
Because we
that.
played, what we did in '68 was we played all our away games at the start of the season, where the grass was growing in the
No, I
park.
think we had a stop start there because I'll say your grass, they started the grass in the early 60s, but it took a long while for it to take, and they had to redo it and redo it and redo it till eventually it became that.
That
But that was when the park was
That was
closed.
tufts.
Aye.
What we had was not a grass park. We had tufts amongst the ash.
Yes.
What I was saying is right. That Jack Perry had access to mechanical things, diggers and all sorts of things, and we could dig trenches and all for water off the park. And he provided all this. I don't know whether his firm knew about it or not, but anyway, we had all this.
And they won the league that year.
Yeah.
Won the league 68-69, got beaten by Petersill in the playoff for the Evening Times trophy. But I mean, I'm don't go back as far as you guys, but I mean, I was born and brought up in Shawlands, so I used to play in the park. We used to sneak in and play in the park when it was an ash park in the late 50s. And also climbing the cooperage, the barrels. Remember the barrels at the back where the cooperage was? It's a mountain of barrels. Inhaling that stuff. But in the late 50s...
Did you find any balls?
No, late 50s, Colin and I would come down in maybe a Friday evening.
That's right, it's Friday nights.
I was more thirds until at that time, but we'd come down on a Friday night. But you'd come down for the entertainment, you'd come down for the fights between the players. I remember one game played the Ants, and the Pollok guy was held by the shoulders by an Ants guy while the other one swung to punch him in the head. But the Pollok player ducked, and the Ants guy hit his own player. I mean, it was that sort of entertainment that you got on Friday night. You know,
There's the evidence.
You're
There's
called
the
for all
evidence.
the fence too.
There was grass in that part in 61-62 season.
We're looking at a photograph here of a team and its committee. And that's definitely grass, is it?
Well, yeah,
grass,
the corners were grassed, weren't they?
Well, it started off with, they came to, and my dad said, grass will grow anywhere as long as you put 6 inches of soil down, and they sowed it and it sprouted away.
That's just
But they had to, it wasn't done properly.
No, it wasn't.
It was done in a fashion, but it didn't hold too well. And it took a long while for it, and probably Jim's quite correct that
Jack Perry and
Jack Perry
did the proper job. They stripped all that and worked with digger. The decision to do that was taken in the social club, in the pavilion down there, where you used to meet on a Sunday after the game. And so many worthies would go down to that place and they'd buy a can of beer for 2 shillings or whatever it was. But you sat there with a big coal fire and you discussed the world's problems, but mainly discussed problems of Pollok. And that decision came out of there, somebody saying, you'll never get grass to go. I will get it. And that came from meetings down in that old pavilion.
And another guy worth a mention is Johnny Welsh.
John
Welsh,
Welsh,
the slabs.
a builder.
He did the slabbing, took away all the old sleepers. He put the slabs, and see, still these slabs are out there just now. When was that?
Buy a slab for Pollok?
70s.
No.
Did you remember that?
Because it was Jimmy Duncan that did the slabs.
Is that Johnny Welsh?
No. Because I was his labourer,
Right.
and Campbell was his labourer as well.
I mean, there's been quite some development over the years. I remember with Alice, he's saying, in the late 50s, where there was hardly anything. And you, Fergus, you were telling me earlier of...
There was nothing there, no cover at all. In the 50s, absolutely no cover at all. The first bit of cover went up on that terracing was done by the supporters club. And the man who did it for us was Tiny Wharton.
Yes.
He did the extensions.
He did the extensions. That was after the 81.
But I remember
the referee.
my father's...
He ran a steel company.
My father, he would tell the committee, getting money for the players is your job. He says, I'll buy you balls, I'll buy you strips, I'll do anything, do work in the park, but you get no money. Jim said he occasionally get money out of him, but...
Well, Stuart Geddes got money out of him eventually, but I had to get down his hands and knees and grovel to get money. Because he maintained that none of his money should be spent and wasted in players.
And that's what made me smile when I finally, for nostalgia's sake, took over the running the refreshment hut. When I spoke to Jim, as he was treasurer at the time, I says, what'll I do with the money? He says, oh no, he says, just you deal with the money and bank it yourself. says we ring fence that money for work in the park, and you know, if I don't have a source of money, all the money goes in the players, and you get nothing for.
There was quite a bit of ring fencing because this man sold SGIV lottery tickets and wouldn't give me any money to sign players. He wanted a ring fence for other things. This man sitting here.
So that was that brought a bit of warmth to my heart when I heard Jim saying that. He still kept on my father's rule that he would ring fence that for repairs.
I think
the park, we paid the park, didn't we, for ages? Paid the park.
You can safely say that when we started to progress, which was around about 68, 69, early 70s, we invested well. We invested our money well. We got a social club running there, which had thousands of members. I mean, I'm talking thousands of members.
3,000 members.
It was early 70s. It was
71 it started, and the cash was used wisely. I mean, we invested in this place, which was a pavilion at the time. We invested in the extensions to there. We invested the money well.
There was a lot of business acumen involved with the club at that time. Stuart Geddes, yes.
Stuart Geddes was, he's just recently died.
Yes,
he was the business acumen we had. And we've never had anybody like him, and I don't think we'll ever have anybody.
There was a tremendous amount of business skill associated with the club and clever guys that moved us in the right direction through the 70s and into the 80s. That was,
and there was,
the development of the social club was crucial.
Jim McNaughton's favourite comment was, don't give me loans, give me donations. Is that right, Jim?
I took anybody.
Loans are no use.
I was press ganged into becoming treasurer in 1971, and I can remember this day walking down St Ronan's Drive in Shawlands, having picked up the club's books and a leather pouch which had about £100 in it, and a bank account which had £200 in it, and that was me. That was it. I was treasurer. That was me in charge of that. And I never realised what state this club was in. But from there, nothing to do with me, but from there on, the club progressed, and we got the social club running. Money started to flow through there. I could pay bills. It was a completely different ball game. Stuart Geddes held my hand, because I admit, I wasn't educated enough or close enough to work these accounts. Stuart was a man. I asked him questions umpteen times, and he never said no, or he was always helpful, and he pointed me in all the right directions with getting loans for this, that, and everything. To get a loan for this place, he was the man that did negotiations, and there was only 3 of us, I think, on the subcommittee to get this going. The same with the social club. We're saying the social club was our saver. The social club was not everybody's. Not everybody wanted a social club. There was moves against in the committee not to have a social club.
Peter Walker.
And the minute secretary.
He worked in the trade.
The minute secretary moved against it.
But it was going to.
My dad was a teetotaler, but he was all for it.
Well,
he was more realistic.
Willie Chapman.
Willie Chapman moved against it, and he got a couple of hands on.
What did we get, Jim?
I don't know why they were.
What did we get? 2% of the turnover or something like that?
We were getting at times 2.5% of the turnover. Plus, they paid water rates, they paid their rates, they paid everything. The actual rates to the council, they paid everything. They paid everything.
Oh, it was instrumental in the development of the club. There's no doubt about that.
The social club, nobody was loaning us money to build it. Nobody would give Pollok money. We were a bad risk. We went to the banks. We went to people, to anybody to get a loan. Nobody would give us a loan. Nobody wanted to know us. Tenants, McEwen's, the big brewers. Nobody wanted to know Pollok. And we ended up with ushers. The only people would lend us the money to build that place. And we took it on. And the main thing I remember saying at a committee, I mean, drink it up as hard as you can to get rid of ushers out there, and we can get McEwen's and tennis back in.
Norseman lager, and everyone did that hunted.
And we paid off the loan in half the time. But it was
£30,000 a month.
Playing Clydebank today, Macbeth was the left winger, and the ball would hardly stop in because it was flooded. And there was an article in the Clydebank paper about that. We won 4-2 that day in a Scottish Cup tie against Clydebank at Newlandsfield. And the article saying Pollok will do well in the cup as long as it continues to rain. Do you recall that at all? Macbeth, a tremendous wee left winger, came Peaceford Avenue. No, that was
The drainage was always an issue. I mean, it was. I remember Rusty Smith out there with a pneumatic drill,
Yeah.
drilling the park.
That
It
was
wasn't-
Rusty had slept in here.
That was. So did Dickie Brock.
when was the herringbone drain spit in? I mean, that early 50s.
Jack Perry.
Eh?
That was done with Jack Perry's time. We put in the herringbone.
You remember,
I remember then.
had to get a bad back, you know.
It wasn't really till they
Doing the ditches.
brought in the sand slitting, and it was Davy Elliott's time that he brought. And then who was the guy that? What was the firm that did the sand slitting? Suitors. Who were masters of the art.
What to say in closing is that we oldies have all talked, but the club can go forward with the likes of young Campbell and Mark there, because they're the future of the club. I'll not be here for much longer, but Campbell and Mark, Campbell and Mark are the future of this club, and some other young people we've got in the committee. Let's hope the club can go forward and be a big name in junior football in the future, and I mean junior football.
What we've got here is something special, and that nobody can take this away. That we've got 500 folk that will turn up here for a league game. We maybe can't get 2,000 for a cup tie, but we'll get 500 people that will come here week in, week out, and they'll stand out in their terrace, and half of them won't watch the game. They'll be talking about the law and talking about what happens. And they bring their grandway. There's something special about Newlandsfield. There's something special.
They're always
Hopefully
was.
today, you said 500, I hope there's 800 today.
I would think so. Great.
Well, thanks very much, gentlemen. A lot to talk about there, and a lot to take forward, and a lot of heartfelt pride in Pollok FC.